Hello everyone, IrishHunk here, and today I'm doing something that I haven't really done in a while, and that's give my thoughts on Spirit Halloween's new 2024 animatronics. Now, I know I'm not the first to come up with this idea, and I'm a little late in the game on giving my thoughts compared to a lot of other haunters out there, but there's just a lot of thoughts that have been bouncing around my head that I just wanted to get out to you guys, so I'm doing it now. Now, before we get to the animatronics, I feel like I should give a brief rundown of basically what Spirit Halloween does, just in case there's someone that isn't as familiar with them. Spirit Halloween is basically a retail Halloween store that sells costumes and decorations and all kinds of spooky things. The thing that they're probably most famous for is their animatronics. They've had a long history of making really cool animatronics and drawing up a lot of hype each year to their new animatronic releases. They've grown a huge fan base, and there's a lot of haunters on YouTube now that have a career just sort of making videos based on Spirit stuff and other Halloween retailers. Basically the top of the food chain when it comes to the more standard Halloween decorations. And they've announced and showed off a lot of their animatronics that they're going to sell this year, which a lot of people have been getting pretty excited about. The theme Spirit's doing this year is a Carnival theme, which I personally think is long overdue because a lot of people have been asking for a carnival or circus theme from Spirit for a while, and Spirit's been having a lot of fun sort of sprinkling in clowns and themes that they really shouldn't be in. Like, we had a Tiki Island with clowns on it, we had a lab with clowns in it, you know, places where clowns really shouldn't be, but hey, they sell well, so what can you do? But now we're having a carnival theme, so they can put clowns in, and it actually makes sense. Although, only like a third of the lineup is actually clowns or circusy things, but we'll get to that later. Now when it comes to the animatronics, I think we should probably start with the carnival stuff, so starting out, we have the 7-foot Ringmaster animatronic. Now, the Ringmaster, he's a character I have mixed feelings about. You know, having a Ringmaster in a carnival, I think that's pretty standard. I was kind of expecting that, and I kind of wish we had more Ringmaster animatronics. I own the Rotten Ringmaster, sold by SVI like way back when, and I think he's a pretty cool Ringmaster. I don't think anything has topped that for me yet. And this Ringmaster, he's not really, he doesn't really do it for me. He looks cool, but also at the same time, I don't like the face. Like, the face is the biggest thing that throws it off for me, because I think the outfit is cool, and I think the big beefy stature, I also think that's pretty cool, but the face just, it looks like a Disney villain to me, you know what I mean? Like, it's a little too cartoony for my taste. Like, they're going for more of a human face, which again, it's more fitting for a Ringmaster. A Ringmaster doesn't necessarily have clown makeup on like my Ringmaster or other Ringmasters in the market, but I feel like Spirit could have done better with the face. Like, the face isn't terrible, but it just feels a little weird to me because it just seems so cartoony to me. But at the same time, I'm sure there's people that love the look of this guy, so, you know, to each their own, I guess, but he does have kind of an interesting mechanism. There's no videos on this guy yet, and that's one other thing, is that not all the videos are out yet, at least in time of recording. So this guy, I only have the description and pictures to go off of, but from what it seems, he's basically gonna open up his coat, and there's like a projector in his torso that'll project like souls or just creepy faces floating around his body of like just the guests that got caught up in a show, which I think is a pretty cool idea. I do like the integration of projectors inside of these animatronics. It's something we haven't really seen before. The other thing I have to say about this guy is his price is $330, which that's kind of a thing with all the like carnival-based animatronics this year's. They're all above the $300 range, which I'm not really happy about. I have not been a fan of Spirit pulling the $300 card on these characters, because that's something that's been sort of happening as time's gone on, where they've started making their characters above $300, which I need to see a video on this guy, because given like what I know about him, I just don't think it's worth that price. I don't think any of the clowns, like if I'm being fully transparent, I don't think any of these clown props are worth being over $300. I don't think any of the Spirit animatronics are worth that much, but from my experience, like, I love Spirit. I want to say that right now, like, I love Spirit, but some of their stuff ain't the highest quality all the time. They're not terrible, mind you, but, you know, for that much money, you'd expect something more. So yeah, that's kind of the stuff about the Ringmaster. Kind of cool, but just, not for me. Just doesn't suit my taste. Next up on our list is Nibbles the Clown. Now, I just want to say, Spirit also did a thing a while ago where they released the names of the animatronics before actually revealing what they looked like. And I was kind of thrown off because they had a Ringmaster and right after that was Nibbles the Clown. Now, the Rotten Ringmaster animatronic that I own, I have the caged clown version and the little clown in his cage is called Nibbles the Clown. So I read that and that kind of threw me for a loop because I was like, are they just selling the Rotten Ringmaster, or like, are they doing something with him? Like, what are we doing here? But no, this is a completely different animatronic, and a pretty cool sounding one at that, I gotta say. So Nibbles is basically this jester sort of clown. He's got a lollipop, sharp teeth, what have you. But the coolest part about this guy, again, there's no video on him yet, but according to Spirit and according to a bunch of other things I've heard online, he has motion tracking sensor technology. Now, a lot of people have been talking about this. Basically, there's a sensor, I think it's in his nose, that basically tracks the movement of people walking by, so he can constantly be looking at people passing by, which is pretty damn cool when you think about it. It's something we haven't seen with these retail animatronics before, but I think it's a really cool idea, and I feel like there's a lot of potential for something like this. Honestly, his design's also pretty decent. I don't think I'll be picking him up because I have so many clowns in my haunt, you're not gonna notice that one of them is looking at you, unfortunately, but I think it's a cool idea. And this guy's $300, which I'm like, again, but I kind of expected it because of the new technology. They're probably going to make it more expensive, but I'm curious to see what the actual sensor is going to be like how good it's going to be in person, because when it gets to flagship time, when Spirit's flagship store opens, with all the people there, I'm curious how it's going to handle that, because I don't know if it's just going to track to like one single person, or if it's like sort of, like, I don't know. I have no clue how that's going to work when there's a lot of people, but I'm very curious to see what it's like. So, Nibbles the Clown, pretty cool. I like him. Don't think I'll be getting him, but he's a pretty cool character. And there's a lot of really cool potential with him with future characters with this motion tracking technology. And there's one thing I love with animatronics, especially in the retail market, it's the improving technology. But anyways, next character we have is Bobby Strings. Now, Bobby Strings is a very interesting character in the sense that he's a marionette, he's a puppet, which is something we haven't seen before, but it's something I really like. I really like puppets. I love creepy marionettes. When I was growing up, I used to be obsessed with Slappy from Goosebumps. He's a pretty famous one, I feel. Like, I grew up reading Goosebumps books, and I loved Slappy. He was my favorite character. So seeing, like, sort of a dummy puppet character like this, like, it makes me pretty happy, and I think his outfit is pretty cool as well. Now, according to Spirit as well, and I'm assuming this includes, like, the little stand holding up his strings and all that, he's 7.7 feet tall, which is pretty damn tall. This is going to be a pretty massive character, which I'm curious to see, because with the pictures, he just kind of looks more like a 4-foot character or something, as opposed to, like, a full 7-footer. But Monty was also a prop that they sold a couple of years ago. Monty was this giant cymbal-banging monkey, kind of like the one from Toy Story 3 or whatever. They've done these, like, sort of giant toy characters, and Monty was much bigger in person than I was expecting, because he didn't seem too big from the photos, so I have a feeling this guy's also going to be pretty damn massive seeing him in person. But this guy is also $310, which, I mean, again, what can I really say? There's not much that I can do. I don't think Spirit's going to change their main attraction characters, you know, the pricings. I don't think they're going to decline a bunch anytime soon, but I think the concept for this character is really cool, because again, we haven't had really a dummy character before, and I really like his design. Again, don't think I'll be picking him up, but he is a pretty cool concept, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he's like in stores. So, you know, Spirit, not doing too bad so far. You're doing pretty decent so far, so give you props for that. Alright, now we have Barnaby the Bear. Now, this is kind of an interesting character in the case that it's an animal. It's a bear. It's a bear bouncing on a ball, which I think is pretty cool and fits the circus theme. I love the bear's suit. I think his suit is pretty cool. I love the purple coloring on it. It's very nice. And the ball, too, is pretty nicely colored. Now, I'm a little bit iffy on this character, only because I like the idea, and we don't really get any animatronics from Spirit, so I think that's kind of a cool change of pace, you know, because bears, they can be scary, and there's a lot of animals out there that can be pretty damn scary, but the thing kind of looks like a giant teddy bear to me. I don't think the red eyes helps, because obviously bears don't have glowing eyes. The sky is blue, too. Did you know that? But, you know, just something about the face. It's a little too artificial to me. I don't know. This could be a cool character in person, too. It's gonna be 6 foot tall, but that also includes the ball, I imagine. So it's not like he's gonna be the biggest thing in the world. But, again, this is a character that I probably need to see in person, because there's also no videos on him, though. Spirit released a teaser a while ago, which I'm probably showing footage from the teaser for these carnival characters, where he kind of tilts side to side, I think, where it's like he's bouncing on the ball. So that animation, that's pretty cool. Now, this character is the cheapest of the Carnival characters at $280, which again, $280 seems a little too much for this guy. Like, I feel like this guy should be more the lower 200 range, given what I know about him, because he just leans side to side, and he's not like a huge character, you know, perhaps, but don't want to rant about pricings, but just thought I'd throw that one out there. So, Barnaby the Bear. Kind of a cool idea, but just, I'm a little iffy on him. Ooh boy. Now we're on the final clown, and this is the one everyone's been going crazy over in particular. Cotton Candy Dan. Now, what can I say about this guy that hasn't been said already? Cotton Candy Dan is basically this clown that's stirring around some cotton candy in a bucket, and then he pulls the stick out, and a head comes out with it. And he's also got a pretty nasty melted face, so pretty cool idea. I can understand why people love this guy. I think he's a pretty cool character too. I really like the face design on this guy because it looks like something I would draw, because I love drawing monsters with more melted, decrepit faces like that. And so that design really stuck out to me, especially with the more skeletal structure. And his voice too. I think his voice is pretty good. I really like his voice. It's got that sort of loud, you know, sort of performative voice that I really like. So that's pretty cool. Now, he's $330, which really, that is kind of too high for my taste. This is a character I'm actually considering getting. This, out of all the Carnival characters, I think this is the one I'm considering getting. I don't know if I'm going to get him yet, but he is kind of a cool concept. But $330 is pretty steep, and this guy was made by a company, Techie Design, and I recently made a video about another Techie Design character that I received, a fisherman from a company, Lowe's, you know, that didn't really end up working out too great, you know, it's kind of poorly made. So $330 for this character made by Techie makes me really nervous. From what I heard, his quality is actually pretty decent, but again, it's a little nerve-wracking. Honestly, Cotton Candy Dan, pretty damn cool. I really like him, but I still have my concerns with him. But yeah, not too shabby, not too shabby. Now we're heading into some unfortunate territory. So those are all the Carnival characters, and now we're heading into the Oddities and Curiosities section. Basically all the animatronics that aren't Carnival themed, which there's actually quite a few, which is a shock given that Spirit loves to sprinkle clowns everywhere they go. But hey, I'm open to it because, like, I do a big Carnival theme, but clowns are not necessarily my favorite. I like seeing more variety with animatronics, so I was kind of looking forward to this. Oddities and Curiosities, you know, Spirit generally tries to make their animatronics fit their themes, and so I was assuming that this would probably be more maybe freak show based characters, like not necessarily Carnival Circus things, but like more weird characters or more freakish characters, you know what I mean? But starting out, this character I don't have any real issue with. This is the Gravestone Ghoul. Now the Gravestone Ghoul is basically this corpse guy that sort of spins around behind a tombstone. Nothing too crazy. I actually really like the design of this guy. I know people are pretty mixed on him, but I love the design of this guy purely just because it just feels like a classic cemetery character to me. Like, while I love unique monsters, I also really enjoy more classic-y monsters as well, like more classic characters, as long as they're not too generic, which this guy you could consider pretty generic, but again, I'm also biased when it comes to like skeletons and that kind of stuff too, so I like the design of this guy. $180, not a terrible price. He could probably be cheaper, but with a 20% coupon, like, you know, whatever, but I actually really enjoy this guy. Am I gonna get him? I don't think so, because there's already a lot of stuff I have to prepare for when it comes to this year's haunt, but again, I just like him. He just feels like a classic graveyard character to me, so like, how could I not like him? Next up is... we have Night Terror. Now, this is an interesting character, okay? This character, $100, is like this, like, sort of creepy pumpkin monster, right? But by golly, just watch the video of him, okay? I'm just gonna play the video of him and let the prop speak for itself, so. Yeah, so what I have to say about this character, I'd say my biggest thing about it is it doesn't feel like a Spirit Halloween animatronic. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like people that have been in the Spirit community for a while can probably understand what I mean. Like, it doesn't feel like a Spirit Halloween animatronic. Like, it's a very simple character, but it's not even that spooky. It feels like a character you'd see at, like, Big Lots or something. He just sort of leans his head forwards and just sort of, just has the most, like, generic basic laugh, and it's just I've heard a lot of people talk about this character, and I have heard the arguments that it is a decent character for someone that's getting into this stuff. Okay, like that I guess I could see, but I feel like there's some better things they could have done with it. Like, at least change up the laugh. Okay, that's one thing that, you know, they could have done that I feel like could have improved the prop at least quite a bit, is give it a more sinister laugh or a deeper laugh rather than just that you know, it's like he's laughing at a very mildly funny joke, and it's just it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the face or the design, and again, the animation is just so simple. I mean, we're talking about Spirit Halloween here. This is the company that gives us animatronics like Krampus, you know, Harvester of Souls, that kind of stuff, you know, these really cool, impressive characters, and then now we're with characters like this, and it just doesn't feel right to me. And that's kind of a thing about a lot of these characters, is they feel so generic and cheap to me. They don't feel like Spirit characters, which makes me really sad to say, because, again, I don't like to be negative towards Spirit. I've loved Spirit for most of my life, like, ever since 2013. 2013 was when I started visiting consistently, and my oldest videos on this channel are from, like, some of my trips, like, just some of the characters from 2013. And, like, Spirit's held a very special place in my heart for a long, long time, but these characters just don't... I don't see these and think Spirit, and that makes me kind of sad. Granted, these characters are cheaper too, but just because they're cheaper doesn't mean that they have to be so bland either. And again, I'll elaborate more on this as we go down the line, but Night Terror is just $100. I guess you could do worse, but it's just, I don't understand it. Again, I can't even necessarily hate it or despise it. It's just not Spirit. That's the best way I could put it. But getting back to characters that do feel more on brand with Spirit, we have Wanda Webworth. Now, Wanda Webworth is another really cool character, another unique character for Spirit's roster. It's basically this giant mutant spider creature. It has all these little spider legs and stuff, these long, like, more humanoid legs, kind of like. It's a very cool character and a very cool silhouette. I really like this character. When it comes to me, bugs are the thing that scare me the most. Like, my biggest fear in terms of, like, horror-based things is bugs. Bugs, I have a stupidly irrational fear of bugs. And this character is really cool, and I feel like when used right, could be something that I could find a little unsettling. The animation also seems really cool, like, even her little, like, mandibles, or whatever you call them, like, in her mouth even move, which I think is a really cool detail. And, like, the arms sort of move. Again, there's no proper video out on her yet, we just have glimpses through the teaser and her photos, but I think this is a pretty cool character, I'm not gonna lie. And she's $270, which, again, a little high, but it's a little more forgiving for me. I can be a little more forgiving towards it, since it's not over $300, which feels weird for me to say, but given the past few years, you know, $270, I can live with that. And I feel like this will be a cool character to see in person, because this is going to be in the stores, and I think this is one I'm going to be very much looking forward to seeing. So, Wanda Webworth, there you go. That's a good Spirit character. Now, next up, sort of dipping a little more in my books, is the Cremator. So, this is another static character, which I always enjoy the static characters from Spirit. I wish we got more static characters that weren't, like, light up and sound. I kind of miss Spirit's old, like, static zombies and all that, but this is still a static character, and concept-wise, I think he's pretty cool, and visually, it's a pretty cool character. I like the sort of black robe with, like, the sort of fiery, you know, flames, whatever, inside of him. I think it's a really creepy design. Now, $200 though, that I'm pretty iffy about, which, again, it's not $300, but I feel like you could build a character like this for probably half the price. Definitely much cheaper than $200, because all you need to do is build some kind of frame out of PVC or whatever, Just get some, like, black cloth and then just put a light inside of him. Like, granted, you won't have the voice, whatever, but I don't know how many people are gonna buy him and, you know, yearn to have people hear his voice when they're walking by, but who knows, that might just be me. But, again, it's a kind of an interesting character, but I feel like with that price, I don't know how worth it he is, necessarily. That's the thing, is I get kind of iffy when any of these retail companies make these, like, more hooded characters, because from a design standpoint, they're not that complicated, so I would assume they'd be cheaper, but they're still, like, just about the price of their average characters, which always feels kind of iffy to me, just because I can't imagine they'd be too hard to make, but that might just be me. Again, cool idea, and visually, it's pretty spooky, but it's alright. You know, that's the way I'd put it. It's alright. Next up is Mack Straw. Now, one thing I gotta say before getting into this character is, I love skeletons, but I also have a huge bias and love for scarecrows. Scarecrows is my #1 favorite, like, Halloween monster. Like, Spirit did a farm theme back in 2018, and I have nearly every single scarecrow they sold that year. Like, it's very hard for there to be a scarecrow that I'm not crazy about. Now, I bring this up because Mack Straw, he's a scarecrow, and this is one, I'm kind of conflicted on him. So, he's $180, and basically what he is, he's a scarecrow that's floating on a pitchfork. Basically, they have an illusion where it seems like he's just sort of floating in the wind on this pitchfork, which I don't necessarily know. So, according to the lore, I know I haven't really talked much about the lore with these characters, but all these animatronics have their own lore. He's basically a scarecrow that's possessed by a ghost, and that's why he's floating, which I can kind of understand. Like, when I saw the character, I assumed it was like some sort of possessed scarecrow. And what's interesting about his design, too, is he's designed to look more like those sort of cutesy scarecrows that you see more around the place, you know, like places you find at, you know, Hobby Lobby, that kind of stuff, you know, those, like, circular heads and the very cutesy faces, which I gotta say, I despise those types of scarecrows. I hate them with a fiery passion, but this is basically a scarecrow that sort of goes with that look, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know, I feel like more could have been done with this character. I feel like the design, it's a little basic for my tastes, I don't know. Like, the concept is cool, I guess, but... And that's the thing, I'm so conflicted because my bias for scarecrows is also weighing into this guy because, oh, I still enjoy his design. It's very hard for there to be a scarecrow done that I dislike, unless, again, it's one of those cutesy scarecrows, because I fucking hate those. But, like, creepy scarecrows, it's very hard to do a design that I don't like, and I do like this guy's face because, at the same time, it's different than what we typically get with the typical, just, like, sort of more humanoid skull-like burlap faces, which I really enjoy, but I don't know, this guy just seems kind of simple to me, you know? Like, $180, again, isn't terrible, at least, like, again, with a 20% off coupon, like, it's not terrible, but I just feel like they could have done more with him. But he is a scarecrow, so I will give spirit points for that. Okay, next one. Okay. Dark Princess. Now, this is a character, too, that just really doesn't do it for me. So, she's $170, and she's basically a Dagger Mike reskin. Dagger Mike was a character that was sold by Spirit last year. Little clown, pops up with knives, you know, kind of an okay character. And this one is also just... I see what they were going for. Like, I feel like, in theory, this character could have been cool. Like, this creepy ghost, angel, princess, whatever you want to call it. The name Dark Princess is kind of just whatever. That's another thing, a lot of these character names are just kind of whatever, but she just isn't intimidating to me. I feel like, I don't know if this is intentional, but I think because of her size and her proportion, she looks like a kid. Like, I don't know if she's supposed to be like a kid or like a little fairy, but she just seems like a little kid that's just trying to pop up and scare you, which, for this character, doesn't really do it for me, because there's nothing intimidating about her, and I don't think her jump scare is that effective, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I think the face is cool. I like the sort of, like, hollowed out eyes and mouth. Like, I think that's sort of a spooky design, but again, there's nothing too stand out about it. This is one of the characters that I always forget about when it comes to this lineup, because it's just so middle of the road to me. Like, I don't hate it, but I don't like it really at all either. Again, what's going on, Spirit? Like, you usually make characters that are very memorable and very cool. Like, there's always a few duds each year, but this year I just feel like there's a lot of sort of bland, duds, more than there should be. Like, I feel like once we left the clowns, it's just been kind of a decline. And that makes me sad. That makes me really sad, but whatever. Dark Princess, not much to say beyond that, so moving on to another character that I'm not crazy about, Demonic Gatekeeper. Okay, can I just say as well, another tangent, but another thing that I just need to get out there is I hate, Spirit does this a lot, or they've been doing it more in recent years, I should say. I hate when they give the most generic characters the most over-the-top names. Okay, when I read these names, when they originally released these names, I read Demonic Gatekeeper, and I was kind of excited, because I was like, Demonic Gatekeeper, that could entail a lot. I was imagining just, like, some sort of cool demon character, or some sort of creepy, like, caretaker, gravedigger, or whatever, right? Because it's been a little while since we've gotten one of those, and I just thought that could be a really cool concept for a character. I was not expecting a Groundbreaker Reaper. Now, that's the other thing I gotta say. I also miss the Groundbreakers from Spirit. I love Groundbreaker animatronics, and that's something we haven't really seen a good Groundbreaker in a while, so at least I make it a Groundbreaker. And again, he isn't terrible, but he's just not there for me. Like, he's too cartoony with his giant skull and his massive hands. Like, he's too cartoony for my taste. He's kind of cool. He has, like, flames inside of him, and you can have fog puffing out of him. That's kind of cool, but also $200 for a damn, Groundbreaker. Hold on, I need to look this up. I don't know how much Spirit's older Groundbreakers were. Hold on, give me a second. Let me do my research here. Okay, your boy did some research, and some of Spirit's old Groundbreakers I think are really cool. One of them is Deadlift Zombie. He was $150 back when he was sold in 2009, 2010, so I guess it's not too far off, but you also have Demonica, which is a character Spirit brought back. She's a really cool Groundbreaker. And when they brought her back, she was $150, and I feel like she's much better than this skeleton Groundbreaker, because she looks more realistic and has some pretty cool, like, neck movement. Like, she has, I'd argue, more movement than this guy. And yet, he's $200, and just, again, this doesn't feel like a Spirit character, because Spirit, I feel like over time, Spirit's sort of transitioning more into more cartoony characters, which I'm really not a fan of, because one of the things I like about Spirit is they're more grounded characters, because Spirit can do some pretty creepy, realistic characters, and that's the thing I love from them. I love when they make creepy stuff. That's why I shop there, but this guy is just, again, I don't hate him. I don't hate him necessarily, but, like, God, it upsets me. Again, I'm sure this guy has fans out there. The sculpt isn't terrible on him, but it's just, these are such bland characters. I mean, okay, I love Gravestone Ghoul too, but lumped in with all these other characters, he's not helping the bland sort of feel of these oddities and curiosities. These aren't really odd in the slightest, and I don't have any curiosity about these characters after looking at them, And that's really unfortunate, and also, again, I swear, I'll move on, but I just don't, these characters are going to be so out of place in a carnival, I gotta say. Normally, we're dealing with the situation of clowns being out of place in other themes, but these characters are so, just these bland generic Reapers being in a carnival doesn't really work, and there's so many. Things like zombies and stuff, that can work in a carnival still, but, man. Next up is Giant Death Ray. 10-footer. He's basically a 10-foot alien prop, which, I know there's people that like this guy. And I feel mean, because I feel like all I've been doing for the past while now is just dunking on Spirit's new stuff, and I feel bad about that. But this guy he doesn't strike me as an alien. Like, I first saw this guy, this is actually one of the characters I got pictures of before I actually learned what it was. And I just thought it was some, like, weird, like, skeleton mummy kind of thing. Like, some sort of skeleton sort of thing. Not an alien. And, like, I guess if I look really hard, I guess I could see the alien in his head. And I know there's the argument that his weird stature and body, aliens are supposed to look weird and unnatural. Not every alien has to be, big head, giant, like, oval eyes, that's fine. I can accept that. Like, not every alien has to look like that sort of stereotypical sort of design. But I'm a little weirded out by, I think the outfit is also kind of I don't know. Again, I don't have much to say on this guy. I'm struggling to figure out what to say because he just doesn't stand out too much to me. It's $350, so again, pricier, but 10-footer, what are you gonna do? Like, it's kind of expected. A lot of these companies, when they do the giant animatronics, they're kind of hefty prices, so again, not a shocker to me, but again, I don't have much to say about this guy. I like aliens, I like sort of the sci-fi characters. I feel like, especially when the retail companies do them, it's something we don't see that often. It's something I'd like to see more, but this guy is just kind of... He exists, okay? He exists. Anyways, there's also a few characters that aren't listed on Spirit's website right now that I imagine are also going to be under the Oddities and Curiosities tab. And these are characters that I actually think are pretty damn decent, so let's get to them. So I think first I'm going to start with this character, Ratman. He was released actually at like the beginning of this year. He wasn't released with this carnival lineup, but I'm still going to lump him in anyways. This is what I like to see from Spirit. Okay, this is a character where I see this and it screams Spirit Halloween to me. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, Spirit has also sort of strayed away from blood and gore these past few years. Ever since, I'd say like 2016 was the first year where we didn't really see any blood or gore on the characters, because that's the other part about it is Spirit's audience, they've accumulated more of a younger audience, and part of that comes with not wanting to expose their younger audience to like truly horrific, grotesque things, which I have a lot of thoughts about too, but I'm not going to start another rant. But this is like the first gory character we've gotten in a long time, and Spirit knocked it out of the fucking park with this guy, because he's so gross and so bloody. It reminds me of a character straight out of their 2014 season, because they had like a zombie gas station and all that. It feels like a character would have been perfect for that theme, and I love this guy so much. And he was $200 too. They made a really cool character, you know, cool looking, looks pretty damn good. He has some pretty good movement, and for $200? By God, I'm back in 2014. I'm back in the earlier days of Spirit. But this guy's also online only, which, you know, fair enough. I was expecting that because Spirit doesn't want any gore in their stores anymore, which... But this character is an example of a good Spirit character, a well-done Spirit character. That's the other thing I gotta say about Spirit, is they make a lot of characters that I really am not a fan of, but they still make a few characters that show they still got it. Like, Spirit hasn't lost their talent. When they put their fucking spirit into a character, you know, it turns out really well. And that's what makes me so sad, is that there are so many characters that just don't really... They feel like they're made just to fill up the quantity, you know, just so they have a decent quantity, but it feels like there's only a few ideas they have that are actually really cool, like this Ratman. So, there you go. I've been so negative this video, but I got to give a bunch of praise to a character. And the next character on the list is another one that I'm gonna give a bunch of praise to, and that is Shirley Stab. This is another character that wasn't originally released with the rest of the lineup, but she is probably one of my favorites for this season. She is basically this sort of 1950s style waitress or housewife, however you want to categorize her. And she basically has this carved up face, like a jack-o'-lantern face that's carved into her face. And it is such a cool, creepy looking character. I adore this thing. Now, she's $230, which, I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty high, because all she has is like sort of a stabbing motion, which I wish she had more movement, like maybe like a turn or something. But regardless, I think the concept for this character is really, really cool, and I think her audio's pretty spooky as well. And again, I just love the whole like jack-o'-lantern sort of style on her face, because it's a unique thing, we haven't seen it before. And like, I also love pumpkin monsters too, like along with scarecrows, and this is like a creepy take on sort of a pumpkin-esque monster, I guess. I just think she's really creepy, and I think she's a really cool concept. Again, she's online only. The blood on her face could probably be a little better. You know, the blood on her face is kind of but I'm probably gonna paint more blood on her, or if I can light her really well, then I'll probably just leave her be. But again, this is another character that I really like, that is unique, and just gives me sort of that Spirit vibe. It feels a little cheap, compared to what Spirit typically does, but again, I just think the concept is so cool that, you know, I'm willing to go for it. So, now I also believe there was like a swamp monster, like a swamp hag, that was like a reskin of Mr. Dark being this animatronic that basically starts really low and then just lunges up into the air. Again, really cool mechanism, and I don't really have much to say about her. Again, we've only gotten a small glimpse of her through the teaser, and I mean, sure, her design seems kind of cool. Like, one of the bigger complaints I've had about Mr. Dark and his reskin Hellspawn, I believe his name was, is that I felt like their outfits, their designs are kind of bland. The Swamp Hag's outfit, I believe, from what I saw, seems a little more detailed, so that's pretty cool. But again, not much to say about it. I don't even know like a price or anything on her yet, but still thought I'd mention her. Now, I think that's all the characters that are in the Oddities and Curiosities sort of section. If there's any that I'm missing, feel free to call me out on it, but I think now I'm gonna move on to the licensed characters. Now, there's one thing I gotta say about Spirit, compared to all the other retailers, is that I feel like they are the kings of making licensed characters. I feel like Spirit makes the best licensed characters when it comes to the retail market. All the way back then, they had like all the really cool characters from Jemmy, like the Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, all that stuff. And even nowadays, like characters like their Sam, their Shorty animatronic, their Pennywise especially. Like Pennywise is one of the ones I own, and he looks like he was ripped right out of the screen. Spirit has kind of this cool ability to kind of just bring monsters from horror movies to life, and it's pretty cool. The characters this year, they're also pretty decent, I gotta say. So I'm actually gonna start the license list out of order, and I'm actually gonna start it with Emily and Victor from Corpse Bride. Now, these two characters, I love the movie Corpse Bride, and this is another case of where it feels like Spirit just ripped the characters right out of the screen. I was a little nervous, because we caught glimpses of like their outfits in one of the teasers, and I was a little nervous that like they were gonna seem, you know, just kind of not there, kind of cheap. Like, I was worried that they weren't gonna look too great. I'm sure they were gonna look fine, but no, these characters look straight out of the movie. Their faces are really well done. Listen, I've gone to Disney a fair share of times in my day, and these look like animatronics you would see at a Disney park. And they have like servo heads, they like move their heads around, and they have like blinking eyes. I kind of wish they had moving mouths, but I also feel like with their proportions, that'd be kind of awkward to set up, and, you know, I'd rather have them look fine and not talk than have them talk and look weird and uncanny. And you can also, these characters are sold separately, but you can hook them up with, like, a cord, so they can, like, interact with each other, which is also pretty cool. Now, these characters are also kind of on the expensive side. Emily is $300, while Victor's $280. Poor bastard Victor, he ain't worth as much as Emily, I guess. I imagine that's also probably because Emily's probably going to sell better than Victor. Again, poor bastard, but these are some cool characters. Now, I don't think I'd be getting these. If I was an animatronic collector, like if I just collected animatronics just to have, then I would probably pick these characters up. They're pretty cool, and they look really good, so again, giving Spirit props for that. Next up is a prop that I'm also pretty conflicted on. It's Michael Myers. Now, I got a fancy Michael Myers up right behind me. The Halloween franchise is probably like my favorite horror movie franchise. I know they have a lot of stinkers in there, but as a franchise, I love it. And I love Michael Myers as just a horror movie villain, you know. This is a character that, when it was announced, I was really excited for, because I'm always open to new Michael Myers animatronics. Now, I feel like in recent years, we haven't really gotten a good one. Spirit released a really good one back in 2010. It was made by Jemmy, and it's a character I wish I could have, but I'm also not gonna spend like thousands of dollars to just get one on eBay that partially works. But this one, I'm really mixed about, because I think the movement on it is really good. I really like the movement on it. The turning the body, the sort of stabbing the knife and moving the head, it's the exact kind of movement I'd want from a Michael Myers animatronic. And I don't think the outfit is terrible either, nor the stance. But it's the mask that throws me off. And for me, kind of one of the most important features of Michael is his mask. And it's just, they're going for a Halloween 2 approach with his like bleeding eyes and all that, but the mask just isn't right to me. I think the mask looks kind of small and tight on this Michael, and the expression is just kind of, I think also the eyes, seeing the eyes is throwing me off, and the hair. I don't know, just the mask is weird in this guy, and I feel like you could probably just put a different mask on the head and just call it a day, but also what's kind of unfortunate about this guy is he doesn't play the Halloween theme. And I don't understand why. That's something I've noticed, is that like all of the Myers animatronics we've gotten in the past few years, besides one Spirit released in 2018, none of them seem to have the Halloween theme, and I don't understand why. I don't know if there's just some, like, licensing or copyright issue or what. The theme they gave him isn't terrible, but I would have preferred if they just didn't give him a theme song with this animatronic. Like, just have him do breathing, because I believe Party City released a Myers a few years ago that did that, where it was just breathing. I feel like that'd be better, and in some aspects, that could be even better than having the theme there, because it's more accurate to the character, I guess, but I don't know. I'm extremely conflicted on this guy. Again, I don't think I'm gonna get him. That's the other part, is like, some angles, like, some of the photos of him, his face looks fine, and others, the face looks terrible to me, so, again, I'm extremely conflicted on it. That's one thing I gotta say. It feels like Spirit can make really good licensed characters, but anytime they do something like Michael Myers or Leatherface, you know, my two personal favorites, they can't get it right, besides way back when. And it really upsets me, because Spirit did a Leatherface, like, last year, and it really missed the mark for me, but that's a story for another day. Last two licensed characters, I'm gonna lump them together, only because these are two characters that I actually haven't seen the movies to, so I can't give as good insight into these characters outside of just their designs. So what we have next is Art the Clown and Ghostface. Now, obviously these are also two very popular, you know, horror movie characters. Like, Art the Clown is a character I've seen a lot, and obviously Ghostface, you know, who hasn't heard of Ghostface. Starting with Art the Clown, I will say Art the Clown visually looks pretty damn good. Party City also released an Art the Clown animatronic this year, but this character, I think the actual sculpt on him is more movie accurate. I think the eyes are a little far apart, but that's a very minor grievance. And his animation is pretty cool. He has like this creepy waving animation, which hasn't really been done before, and like he's got some cool movement, and I think he's a pretty cool looking character, and I know a lot of people that have seen the movies are really happy with this guy, so pretty decent job, Spirit. Now, Ghostface. Obviously, I haven't seen the Scream movies either. They're, again, both the Terrifier movies and the Scream movies, they're movies I'd like to see. There's a lot of horror movies I'd like to see, but just lack of time, really. But the Ghostface is kind of also a little mixed for me. I don't think it's terrible either. I think the posture of it is pretty decent, but I think for me, it's like the mask and the hood seem a little small. Like, it seems a little too small. That's the thing about this character, too. It's 6.2 feet tall, but from the pictures, it looks kind of like it looks like it's under 6 foot to me. I feel like it'll look better once I see it in person. Like, I really don't think the photos and videos are doing it justice for me, but it also comes with two different masks, the aged one and the classic white one, which is pretty cool, along with a knife and a machete, so it's kind of cool if they give it customization options, and like, some of the stock photos it looks pretty good, but like in the video it looks a little weird to me, but again, like from what I've heard from people that are fans of the Scream movies, they think he's pretty decent as well, so you know what, again, I'll leave that to the experts of those movies, you know, it's not really fully my place to say besides like some comments about how they look visually. Overall this year, it's really interesting to me and kind of unfortunate. I know there's a lot of people that saw the props this year, a lot of haunters that saw this stuff and were really bedazzled by it, like going off about how the animatronics are really amazing this year, but I'm really not feeling it. Like, okay, the carnival characters are cool. Like, I talked pretty nicely about the carnival characters. The main cast, I think they're pretty decent. And there's a few standout characters, but for me, like the majority, you know, the Oddities and Curiosities, which make up the majority of this lineup, really aren't doing it for me. And I don't think I'm gonna remember most of the animatronics this year beside like the carnival characters and some of the few standouts, which again is just really sad. Like, this is a common thing I've noticed with Spirit as time's gone on, is I feel like there's been more years than not lately where the characters are just so bland and forgettable, and it's just really unfortunate because again, they used to be like, and technically they still are top of the food chain, you know, making these cool characters, and I also feel like that's part of the problem. They're very comfortable in their position, and they make a shit ton of money, both from like haunters and just regular consumers, you know, they're very popular, you know, they're in a very comfortable position, but I feel like they also get comfortable with releasing more bland characters like these because they're still gonna sell. Like, okay, my thought process, I'm getting into theories and stuff here because I don't know for sure, what I imagine is they did these more bland characters to sort of be a response to people complaining about the raise in pricing. Which, you know, you can do simpler characters to do cheaper prices. I don't care about that. But the actual concepts for these characters and designs are so unbelievably bland. You can do simple characters while still having unique concepts. And just, I don't know, it's really unfortunate. And I just feel like Spirit is, they feel a little too comfortable just releasing whatever because they still know it's gonna sell. But that kind of destroys what makes me and a lot of other haunters like them in the first place, you know what I mean? Like, we liked Spirit because of their unique characters. We liked also that they weren't afraid to get scary, you know? Like, we loved the gore, you know? I grew up loving their sort of creepy stuff. I originally was scared of Spirit. Like, that's the thing, I went to Spirit stores before 2013, but the stores scared me. Like, they terrified me. 2012, I don't think I even stepped into a Spirit store because I was too scared to go in, but after that, in 2013, I finally gained the courage to go into the store, and I've loved it ever since, and I feel like that's also an important thing for any, like, young haunter, or, you know, people getting into the sort of haunting, you know, community, is that, you know, these things are gonna be scary. A good prop is something that you see that genuinely makes you feel uncomfortable, and especially with a younger audience that wants to get into this, like, sure, they can like spooky things and not want to get scared, like, especially with younger kids and stuff, that's understandable, but part of it is getting scared. If you're getting into this community, I feel like it's important to be scared and to see things that do scare you, because then you grow from it, right? Like, you will overcome it, or you might not. But, you know, if you can overcome it, it helps you with making scarier things, and I feel like people enjoy being part of the community because of getting scared, as opposed to just the cool characters, you know? Like, that's part of what I enjoy about it. Like, my favorite, you know, horror movies, horror props, whatever, are the things that genuinely scare me, right? And I just feel like that Spirit's sort of been losing that because, again, it's more profitable, and I don't want to just paint Spirit as this, you know, soulless, money-hungry corporation, because they still do care very much about their audience. Honestly, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with Spirit. You know, a lot of their audience, especially the younger fan base, would probably take issue with this, but I wouldn't mind having a much smaller lineup if we had a lineup of, like, bangers. You know, like Wanda Webworths and Rick Ratmans, and you could have a smaller lineup with characters that are actually good, as opposed to having a bunch of characters that are just forgettable. I'd be okay with that, because while I like that Spirit has a pretty decent lineup, when most of them are forgettable, like, what's the point, you know? Like, I don't know. Again, I feel bad laying in the Spirit with all this kind of stuff, but again, I want to see Spirit succeed, and I want to see them do well, and they're not going to be failing anytime soon, I can guarantee that. With all the people that have bought the stuff already that's already on sale, even the characters that I have complaints about, like, Spirit's not going to be in any distress anytime soon. But there's also a lot of companies out there, like Home Depot in particular, that are really raising up in competition, and I feel like Home Depot is pretty much on par with Spirit at this point, in some aspects even better. I hope you do better, Spirit. Again, the good characters this year are pretty damn good, but a lot of them are just so bland and forgettable. Just, you know, it just, the Spirit's not in there, you know, the spirit of Halloween, whatever the hell, but, like, the Spirit's not there for them, for a lot of them, for me. But anyways, that was my analysis of Spirit's new animatronics. A lot of tangents, and this video ended up probably being longer than I was expecting, but I just wanted to get these thoughts out. And again, if you guys have any thoughts on the animatronics, let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's all I have for today, so I'll see y'alls later. Goodbye!